automatically distribute it to all other platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and others. It's super easy, super streamlined, and you can start making money immediately. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
This episode is brought to you by Orbit Gum. Remember first dates, as in IRL, face-to-face, actually having to put on pants on first dates? When you get so nervous, you start to sweat or jumble up your worms because you've forgotten how to tonk. Relax. One piece of Orbit Gum is all it takes to get your ding back. Pick up a pack of Orbit Gum, in-store or online.
I work at a car dealership as a receptionist, and one of my duties is to greet customers when they enter. I'm a professional artist on the side, and I've been busy with some commissions lately, so since it's not busy at the dealer, I started working on my iPad mini. It's old and I'm working on upgrading it, but I currently can't afford to, so I live with it despite the battery life being really short, and I have to basically keep it plugged in at all times. During my lunch, I was in the waiting area doing work when a kid, a little girl no older than 4, came up and watched me work. This happens a lot when I draw in public, and usually the kids just ask a lot of questions, but this nice girl was really quiet and just had a look of amazement, so I just let her be. Her mother, the entitled mother in this story, was nearby at a salesman's desk working on purchasing a new car, which is a long and no doubt boring process. The salesman working with her walked away, which at my dealership they do very often to retrieve paperwork, talk to sales finance managers, etc. She looks over at me and her kid and asks her, "What are you looking at?" Her kid points at my screen and says, "She's painting puppies." I was working on Twitch emotes of a streamer's dog. I sort of show my screen to the entitled mother, and she then asks her kid if she wants to draw, and the girl excitedly says yes. I expected entitled mother to pull out a paper and pencil, or at least ask if I could get some for her too, but instead, she just looked at me expectantly. When I realized that she was waiting for me to hand her my iPad, I said, "Oh, she can't use mine, but I can get her a notepad and pens," but apparently that wasn't good enough. She sighs and says, "Just let her draw for a little bit. I'm almost done here anyway," which I knew for a fact wasn't true. They were waiting on bank approval for a loan, which can take anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes. And even then, they'll be here longer for finance paperwork, detailing, etc. I start to explain that this is part of my work, and she scoffs, saying that I'm just doodling puppies and it was selfish that I wouldn't let Nice Girl doodle on my device too. The poor little girl was just staring at her hands, looking quite embarrassed. I then pretended that my lunch was over and got up to spend the rest of my lunch at my desk. I couldn't see her from where I moved to, but I could hear her grumble to her girl about who knows what. Whatever, I pretended like I didn't hear it so that I wouldn't mess up this sale for my coworker. Sometime later, nature calls and I got up to use the restroom. I left the iPad on my seat so it would stay plugged in, and I put a notepad over it to cover it up somehow. I was in the restroom no longer than 3 minutes, but when I got back, only my charger remained. My iPad and Apple Pencil were gone. I looked over at the entitled mother, who had her large purse suspiciously in her lap now instead of on the floor beside her chair like it was before. I was panicking because a lot of my work was on that iPad that I needed. I went to my sales manager and told him the situation. He told me that he would take care of it, but to be patient for now. I went back to my desk full of anxiety and my stomach doing backflips. The sales manager went to the desk where the entitled mother was working out the deal. They're far enough away that I can hear their voices, but not pinpoint what they're saying. But I did hear her eventually yell, "How dare you? I would never steal. Do you want to lose this sale?" I immediately got up and went over behind the lady so the sales manager could see me, but the entitled mother couldn't. He tells her that he understands, but my iPad went missing, and he wants to make sure that no one currently in the building has it. That's when I remembered the Find My feature on all Apple products. My iPad was connected to the dealer's Wi-Fi, so I pulled out my iPhone and pressed the play sound for my iPad. Her purse started dinging. She tried to play it off like it was her ringtone, but the sales manager stared at her, waiting for her to answer the phone. The thing is, with the play sound feature, if I keep pressing it, it'll keep pinging. I made my presence known and told her to give my iPad back. That's when she stopped playing dumb and said, "Just let nice girl have it. Her birthday is coming up, and I can't afford a present for her since I'm getting this car." My sales manager said that he was happy to cancel this deal so she could instead buy a birthday present for her child and to return my iPad or he would call the police. She practically threw my iPad at me, where it hit me in the gut, and took her nice girl from the waiting area to leave. The poor child looked at me with the most apologetic look on her face before leaving with her mother. My sales manager might have helped me, but he's not exactly the nicest person. From now on, I'm not allowed to bring my iPad to the dealership. I have to either leave it in my car or leave it at home. Whatever. The entitled mother took my Apple Pencil with her since she left in a hurry, so I'm going to stop by the Apple store after work to get a new one. But until then, I'm stuck with my pens and notepad. Yo, that sucks, OP. You should go to the cops because an Apple Pencil's like $100 or something. It's nuts. That was r/entitled parents. And if you like this content, be sure to follow my podcast because I put out new Reddit podcast episodes every single day. Welcome to r/pro revenge, where OP puts his toxic boss out of business. Today's episode is sponsored by Honey. Welcome to r/ask Reddit, where we answer the question, women who gave the creep a chance. How did it go? This podcast is supported by Anchor FM. If you've ever thought about starting your own podcast, then check out Anchor FM. Anchor FM is a free podcast platform that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. I really can't recommend these guys enough. This is the podcast platform that I personally use. Once you set up your podcast, Anchor FM will automatically distribute it to all other platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and others. It's super